like long term, it is inefficient it is bad for like bullshit burning money in a big like whenever those bubbles burst, like it hurts, but it is often a good thing for long-term sustainability. The problem is the bigger that bubble gets before it pops, the more people are going to be hurt. It's a bit like...
it is also unfortunate that who's getting disproportionately harmed by the bubble bursting. That's the thing that's really annoying. Hey, Microsoft, nice $3 trillion market cap. Hey, what's going to happen to any of the executives who made these terrible decisions in, like, you know, especially because I see people talk about it being like COVID overhiring because everyone saw the line go up when people couldn't go outside and played more games. I went, there are no external factors here. We're just all rich now. Let's go. Let's hire 1 million people. It'll be fine. It's like the one of the major problems is the fact that those people don't seem to be getting the short end of the stick in any capacity, as opposed to people who were hired and are now just like, oh, sorry, we probably shouldn't have hired you. They will never admit that publicly. Whoop, off you go.
There's actually one comment. Soto Doom. So the layoffs are good. Nice. No worries then. That is certainly not what but I should explain. If you're in a situation where something is looking like it's very likely to be economically like quite unviable, it is often better. It's a little bit like in personal relationships or something like that. It's often better to have the hard conversation earlier, because if you let a situation get worse and worse, that conversation's only going to get harder, more painful, and more damaging. So in this case, this is like not what's going on here. This is irresponsible COVID overhiring and a bunch of other things. As an example with, like with layoffs, if layoffs are something that, you know, it looks more likely than not that this is something that will have to happen, it's better that those are done early, responsibly, as ethically as you can, giving people, you know, do it properly instead of let time go on to the point where it's blown up in your face and maybe your company's went to zero and everyone loses their jobs. Yeah.
Big emphasis on that responsibility and ethically. That's where like my major sticking point is, because I completely understand that sometimes you make mistakes and that's just going to happen. But the point is you can't just treat them like numbers. You can't treat people completely, like, dehumanize them, because how many of these 1,900 people will leave the industry and never come back to it? And that's the problem. Like, even if they wanted to come back to it, maybe they can't. And you go, well, look at the damage you have just done to our industry as a whole. Nice having any responsibility for it whatsoever.
And there's another side to that. So, I mean, a lot of it's just talking about assets, right? So if you have assets, then you are able to weather situations like this quite a bit more. But one thing that I've noticed in how hyper-consumerist, like, a lot of society is...
like hyper-growth, yes.
Hyper-growth.
We're out of just normal adjectives. We have to go for hyper now for everything.
Well, it's like with roller coasters. You've got your hyper coasters, your giga coasters. I can't wait to find out what the next tier of roller coaster is so I can go on it and just pop my clogs there and then. What was I going to say? Yes. Okay. There's just a lot about like asset concentration, and you got asset concentration happens more and more and more and more. Well, you know, for taking, say, like housing and stuff like that. How to put right. Sorry. Oh, Donuts is talking about the euthanasia coaster.
Oh, meta coasters. Oh my God.
I've seen the euthanasia coaster. It's flat out. Like, it's just a roller coaster design. Like, the G-forces will just literally kill you.
Damn. That is horrifying and also metal.
Yeah, I suppose if you're a coaster fan, that's one of the ways to go.
There's definitely like there was like that little, you know, the whole this is why women live longer thing. There was just a little flicker in my head, just went, fucking try me and we'll see.
I will survive 3,000 G's out of sheer, I don't know, balls.
Yeah, the indomitable human spirit will survive. It's fine. Body, maybe not.
I suppose basically right. Point basically being, we got all that about assets, concentration. When times are bad, if you have assets to fall back on, thumb up, right? I then feel that there are so many things that are just really well designed at like nipping away at people's income. And it's one of those things. How much of human behavior is like what you actually decided to do, or how much of it is just like essentially you doing the default because of the systems that you exist in, because of the possibility space that is actually open to you. And I guess I think about like, you know what, you go to any website now and it's just like buy with Klarna.
Ah, yes.
So and then you think about like, say, the rent inflations that have went on, where it's like, yeah, somebody might be on 150K in California. Now, if you're on that amount of money here, you can
swimming in it, like,
just do anything.
Yeah.
Not Dublin, though.
No.
Go 2 hours down the road and you're literally in the most expensive cost of living city in Europe, I believe. The Irish economy is very true and real, and I think it's one of the times where, we can flat out, I mean, they call it the leprechaun economy, and I don't think that is a word that is offensive to people from here, because we all know that it is a fucking leprechaun economy.
Leprechanomics, like. There we go.
Leprechanomics.
Yeah. We'll write that book and be rich.
What was it before? It was like the something Irish with a Dutch sandwich or whatever. It was like the tax loophole, the cute name they had for it.
God.
So, I suppose quite challenging. I guess a lot of it just kind of comes down to like, if in all of our lives, like thinking if we were going to be, yoinked in 2 months, what things do we have? Like what, like an emergency fund. Just like all of that. And I just feel like the double Irish with the Dutch sandwich. There's just so many things that are so good at just like nipping away money and kind of getting ahead of people, sort of planning for the future or maybe building up some assets, that it just makes times like this, I suppose, especially hard. Like when you see just like how expensive things are in, places like California, where it's like, yeah, okay, someone's on 150K, and then you find out what their monthly rent is, and it's like 5 times what I paid in Belfast when I was renting.
Yeah, it's very fun. That it's like, oh yeah, well, I make so much money. Like, yeah, but how much money do you have at the end of the month? Shut up.
Yeah, it's like
it's
those
very fun how it's all
millennial money.
Yeah.
Where someone's like, oh, I earn, 120, this, I don't know what accent this is, like 120 grand a year, and I have 6 grand a month in rent. And then anyone from here is like, what? That was in New York. I think it's called millennial money. I think CNBC does it. CNBC, home of Jim Cramer.
I saw a tweet that was showing off a new apartment build in New York. And it was an apartment that was like, it was full on like the tiniest bed set I've ever seen in my life. And then the person in the video, just without pause, without highlighting this at all, just goes, and this goes for around 2K a month. Yeah. I'm just like,
so dude,
that's a fucking shoebox for 2K.
If you are enough of a member of the bourgeoisie to have, it's this mythical thing that old people have. It's called a bath. Now imagine, you can get some sticks, and then you can get like a tarp, and then you can sell that as a domicile.
Perfect.
There you go. I don't. Where the fuck's this one? Video games.
Yeah,
Loot. Yeah. Legendaries. Loktar. Sug.
Yeah, I have a feeling orcs would probably rebel against some of this.
What if those layoffs were bad at their jobs, says Sotodim. I mean, yeah, look, like, obviously that is a company. I'm definitely not like, I mean, there's a reason why it's like, okay, you're on the performance improvement program now. Because, yeah, there is give and take and fair play on both sides. And I'm definitely not advocating for, companies like being forced to keep people on who are not good at their jobs. Yeah. Even I know, there was some stuff where basically it's like, I definitely don't want to get myself into hot water. Was it here? It's one of those things, I think it was like a local issue. So I say this is a local issue. Definitely this is no sort of grander point. But it was one of like it being basically impossible to get rid of teachers.
Yeah.
And there was like just a few instances of that happened in some of the schools like around where I lived. And it was one of those things where it's like, I'm all for, rights, protections, very important. But also it's like you literally can't get rid of a teacher who's really bad at teaching. Then it's like, well, what the fuck? So, I'm not... I mean, yeah, it has to be right on both sides. But in this case, I'd certainly argue that it's not right in the side of the business.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's not... it's very clearly... like, this doesn't appear to be a stack ranked situation, as an example. Stack ranking itself, very controversial policy. You could say that stack ranking would almost be a few levels up from just cells in the spreadsheet, delete. So
Yeah.
it's like, even if you are going to be taking like the most pro-business angle, you could certainly say if you had to orchestrate a reduction in force of a magnitude like this, you would probably want to do so in a way that best preserves, talent and all of that. And that is evidently also not happened here.
Yeah,
so this
that's
seems
exactly
like
it.
one of those things that's just, it's like no matter what way you slice it.